The first thing I want to say is Happy Hanukkah to all of my Jewish mishpacha in Israel today, for you are already there celebrating Hanukkah, and here in the United States it begins this evening in a few hours. Now, sometimes I wish I didn't have social media, but I've kind of need it for other purposes besides Facebook friends. I do not consider Christians as my friends. In fact, Christians are my enemy. I know some people might think, well, that is such a terrible thing to say. And my answer to that is, well, just take a look at what Christians have done to the Jews over the course of the past nearly 2,000 years. So one of these Christians was lamenting about Joe Biden and what is he going to do, take Christmas away? They always do that every year. They always say that. So what I did was this. I posted this statement. Now, this Facebook friend was somebody I used to work with when I was in my 20s. When I was in my later 20s all the way into my mid-30s. So my response was, all of the pagan Roman, he knows what I believe. He has been around me. All of the pagan Roman idols were claimed to be born on December the 25th. I can prove that in the real Mashiach, whose name is Yehoshua, was born in the summertime. Gabriel came to Miriam in the 6th month on the Hebrew calendar to announce of her conception. Now I want you to listen carefully. The month of Adar is the 1st month. Now these names they were not given names in the original counting of months. It was the 1st month, 2nd month, 3rd month, so and so. This is what they call them today, whether the names are right or wrong. Just wanted to elaborate on that. The 2nd month is Nisan. The 3rd is Iyar. The 4th is Sivan. The 5th is Tammuz. 6th is Av. 7th is Elul. 8th is Tishri. 9th is Cheshvan or Cheshvan. The 10th is Kislev. 11th is Tevet, and the 12th is Shvat. And so, because he's college educated and I'm not, I said this. Now, in my limited education tells me that it usually takes 9 months from conception to birth a human child. So if I start at the 6th month, as the scripture says, that's right, it does, and I'll show you, I'll prove it to you, and count 9 months, I land on the month of Sivan. Now, on a non-leap year on the Hebrew calendar, the month of Sivan lands in the month of June, typically in the month of June, on the Roman calendar. This is as far from winter time as you can possibly get. What this proves is that Constantine Christianity worships Roman pagan idols on December the 25th and have no clue as to who the real Mashiach really is, which is one of the many reasons why they will fight against him when he comes to save all Israel. My response was to him, Happy Hanukkah. And of course, he and his wife responded by saying, Merry Christmas, to mock me. Okay. So, proof? You want proof? I will show you proof. Let us go to Luke 1. We'll go to verse 30. And the messenger said unto her, Fear not, not Mary, but Miriam. Names matter, and I will prove it to you. With a verse in Exodus 34. I will prove it to you. For you have found favor with not God, but Jehovah Elohim. He is jealous for his name. I will prove it to you. And behold, you shall conceive in your womb, and bring forth a son, and you shall call his name not Jesus, but Yehoshua. There it is right there. It's not Jesus. Jesus does not mean Jehovah is salvation. Yehoshua means Jehovah is salvation. And he shall be great. He shall be called the Son of the Highest. Therefore he will not be equal to the highest. Because the highest is the highest, who nobody is equal with. And not Lord God, but Jehovah Elohim shall give unto him the throne of his David, and he shall reign over the house of Yaakov, or Jacobi, forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end. Then, hold on. I almost messed up. Verse 26, in the 6th month, the messenger Gabriel was sent from Elohim to a city of Galilee named Nazareth to a virgin espoused to it. So in the 6th month, this occurred. Now, let us go back. Was I right when I said that Gabriel came to Miriam in the 6th month on the Hebrew calendar to announce her conception? Yes, I am right. Therefore, if it takes 9 months from conception to give birth, then she gave birth in the month of Sivan. Now, I want to show you this. I placed this over here. I'm going to keep it over there. Exodus 34:14. You shall not worship any other Ale for Jehovah. I want you to look at that name. I want you to learn that name. His name is jealous. Now let's look up the word kana in Hebrew, and let's see what jealous actually means in Hebrew. It means to be zealous or to be jealous. In this case, it is zealous and jealous. If your wife calls out another man's name in the middle of the night, you would be jealous, wouldn't you? Of course you would. Zealous then, what? Then you know what jealous means. What does his name have to do with zealousness? In other words, you must be zealous for his name because he is zealous for his name. Which means you will honor that name, you will say it correctly, you will not use any other name. Addressing him, ever. So let us look at this scripture in context. (34:14). It is in the context of, observe, verse 11, observe that which I have commanded you this day. I will drive out before you the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Take heed to yourself, not to make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land where you go, because it would be a snare in the midst of you. But you shall destroy their altars, break down their images, and cut down their groves. For you shall worship no other Ale, for Jehovah, whose name is jealous and zealous, is jealous and zealous for his name. So when you start rejecting his name and replacing it with another name, then what you are essentially doing is making covenants with the inhabitants of the land and go a-whoring after their idols and sacrificing unto their idols, is what you are doing. Now, I want to show you, so what I want to do is play you a short video clip of an abortionist. Something that she said that I accuse you Christians of doing.
I always wondered, when I had to look for the body parts, the 5 pieces of the baby, the first time I knew that was a human being. Like, the scales fell off my eyes.
Yeah, the first time. The first time she knew it was a human being. So the first time you hear this, you know it's the truth.
And I was literally in shock. And the abortionist came in to make sure that everything was in the petri dish, right? This big dish that we had. And he was whistling, and I remember him saying to everybody, what are we all gonna have for lunch? When before this abortion, he told me to tell the young woman it was not a baby, it was a sack of tissue. And I remember screaming inside of myself, how can he not see what I'm seeing? And my question is, could you see? Could you see that those were babies?
I can answer that for myself. I cannot speak for any other abortionist in the world. Did I know those were human beings? Absolutely.
Bingo! You know as soon as you are confronted with the truth. You know. So now you see you have a choice to make. You're either going to accept the truth at that point, or you're going to reject it at that point. Now, so I posed a question to Google AI. Are Christians required to adhere to the Constantine Creed? We all know it's true, but AI decided to sidestep it and go to the Nicaean Creed instead. With the Nicaean Creed, if it's even possible, is worse than the Constantine Creed. Okay? So AI says, no, Christians are not required to adhere to the Constantine Creed, but instead to the Nicene Creed, which is also known as the Creed of Constantinople. So, what I have decided to do, I'm going to show you the Constantine Creed, but I'm going to show you the Council of Nicene Creed first. So this, in order for you to, if you call yourself a Christian, this is what you believe. This is what you do. And I quote, this is a creed to which Christians would have to swear. And I quote, as this guy quotes, I accept all customs, rites, legalisms, feasts of the Roman sacrifices, prayers, purifications with the water, sanctifications by Pontificus Maximus, the high priest of Rome, propitiations, feasts, and the new Sabbath. Remember, the new Sabbath was adopted 325. 325 CE. Thy soul Sunday, all new chants and observances and all the foods and drinks of the Romans. In other words, and I quote, I absolutely accept every Roman, everything Roman, every new law. So everything Roman. Everything Roman means Roman idols, Roman Messiah, every new law, rite, and custom of Rome, and the new Roman religion. So the Council of Nicaea, in all reality, is the Constantine Creed. So I'm going to read to you once again, as I did before, the Constantine Creed. What you Christians believe. What you swear to upon your baptism, whether you know it or not. But today, you're going to know it. And the abortionist has exposed you that you know it when you hear this. The early document of the Roman Catholic Church, established by Emperor Constantine and codified, made into law at the Council of Nicaea. So AI lied. Is a fundamental but little known policy of the Catholic Church. It is an attempt. It's not just the Catholic Church. It's all who call themselves Christians. It is an attempt to not just distance from, but destroy their connections of their new religion, Christianity, which means Christianity was born 325 CE. What was that religion that they broke away from? What is the religion that they reject? The Nazarene sect of Judaism. That's right. But destroy the connections of the new religion, Christianity, from its origins in the Hebraic Jewish culture. Remember, everything Roman. So everything had to be Roman. That would be including the Roman idols, and the Roman Messiah. Okay, the Constantine Creed, 325 CE, established by the Council of Nicaea. And I quote, I renounce all customs, rites, legalisms, unleavened breads, and sacrifice of lambs of the Hebrews. So even the unleavened breads on Pesach. And all the other feasts of the Hebrews, sacrifices, prayers, aspirations, purifications, sanctifications, appropriations, fasts and new moons and Shabbats, and superstitions and hymns and chants and observances and synagogues. Now remember, as I've told you, synagogue is not a Hebrew word. Knesset is one of the proper words, not synagogue. Synagogue is a Greek word. Absolutely everything Jewish. So they renounce absolutely. Which is why they chose Jesus instead of Yehoshua. Because they renounce absolutely. Absolutely means 100%. Absolutely everything Jewish. Everything. Every law, rite, custom, and if afterwards I shall wish to deny or retract and return to Jewish superstition or shall be even found eating with Jews. Or feasting with them. Or, or secretly conversing and condemning the Christian religion instead of openly confuting them and condemning their vain faith, then let the trembling of Cain and the leprosy of Gehazi cleave unto me, as well as the legal punishments to which I acknowledge myself liable. And may I be an anathema to the world to come, and may my soul be set down with Satan and the devils. So you Christians who are listening to me, you have a choice to make now. You see? And you have to make a choice. If you continue to do what you're doing, then you are going to receive the curse of Revelation 9. Verse 8, 17 and 18, 19 and 20. Now the Council of Nicaea sets a brand new holy day of Easter. So Easter did not start until 325 CE. What then did the pre-Christian believers celebrate? Pesach. Or Pesach. Not Easter. So what they said was, when the question arose concerning the most holy day, as they say, Easter, it was decreed by common consent to be expedient that this festival should be celebrated on the same day by all in every place, and truly in the first place, it seemed to everyone a most unworthy thing that we should follow the custom of the Jews. So the whole point of it was rejecting any custom of the Jews. And they say, in the celebration of this most holy solemnity, whose polluted wretches have stained their hands with a nefarious crime and are justly blinded in their minds, and it is fit therefore that rejecting the practice of this people. So the whole point of Easter is a rejection of Jews. As you can see right here, that we should perpetuate to all future ages a celebration of this rite in a more legitimate order. Let us then have nothing in common with the most hostile rabble of the Jews. Well, if you want to see what the most hostile rabble of the Jews looks like, among those living on the earth today, you've got no further to look than right here. Because yes, I am the most hostile against Christianity, but for good reason, for what they did to the Jews. So, this whole thing started at 325. What all of you Christians do today. Now, so, these Roman feasts that they have accepted, what is it? On December the 25th, the Romans celebrated the festival of Dies Natalis Sol Invictus, which translates to the birthday of the unconquered sun, which is Helios. In fact, that very statement is sitting at the Vatican right now. Essentially a feast honoring the sun idol, Sol Invictus, marking the winter solstice of the calendar. This is considered the most likely Roman feast associated with December the 25th. So what we have here is this new religion to replace the religion of Nazarene Judaism and Judaism altogether was Christianity. And it occurred at 325 CE. And also Mithras, the Indo-Iranian idol of light and loyalty. What does Paul have to say about this? 1 Corinthians 10, verse 14. For this very reason, my beloved, flee from idolatry. You're wise men. You know what I'm saying. The cup of blessing which we bless. It is the communion of the blood of not Christos, but Mashiach. Remember, names are important. They replace the Hebrew with the Roman. And Jehovah is jealous about names. The bread which we break, it is the communion of the body of Mashiach. For we, being many, are one bread and one body. We are all partakers of that one bread. Israel, after the flesh, they eat of the sacrifices of the altar. So what is the idol? And what is that thing which is sacrificed to idols? He asks. And his answer is The things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, and not to Jehovah Elohim. Do not have fellowship with devils. You cannot drink of the cup of neither Jehovah nor Yehoshua HaMashiach, and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of Jehovah and Yehoshua's table and the table of devils. Why are you provoking Jehovah to jealousy? Do we think we are stronger than he? He was already telling the Corinthians that while he was alive. Imagine what happened after he died. And 325 years later, let me remind each and every one of you, there are no excuses. You shall not worship any other ale for Jehovah. Look at it carefully. Learn it, understand it. Whose name is jealous and zealous, as I just showed you, is a jealous ale. And don't be chasing after their idols. There's another one. Well, I'll leave that one alone for now. Now, what is the opposite of zealous, folks? Apathetic and indifferent. That is you Christians. You don't care. You don't care. You are apathetic and you're indifferent. And so, because of this, Revelation 9. Verse 20. First, we're going to look at the great plague which is going to come upon the Gentiles and the reason why it's going to happen. And the sixth messenger sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns out of the golden altar which is before Elohim, saying to the sixth messenger which had the shofar, Loose the four messengers which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four messengers were loosed, and were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay a third part of men. And the number of the horsemen, or the number of the cavalry, was 2, not 200, but 2 myrias. That's 2 10,000, 10,000. What that number is, I do not know. But it is not 200 million. And I heard the number of them, and I saw the horses in the vision. Not them that sat on it, no. And that which sat on it, that which to be seated on them, having breastplates of fire, of jacinth and brimstone. And I showed you over and over and over again what that is. And that is this. You even now know which ICM launchers is going to do this. It is Russia's ICBMs. And I can't get a good picture for anything. Right here. This is a picture I'm looking for. On its breastplate was fire. There it is, right there at fire. Jacinth and brimstone, right here. The color of yellow and black. Brimstone is yellow. Jacinth is either black and orange or black and yellow. So it's making it very specific. This one right here is black and yellow. So it says what kind of jacinth it is, and there you have it. On its breastplate was the color of fire. That's the red and white star. And jacinth and brimstone. And the head of the horses were like the head of lions, wide. And out of its mouth, let's look at this thing from a different vantage point. Out of its mouth, so the mouth sits right here. Right there. Out of its mouth comes this. Issues fire, smoke, and brimstone, and by these three was a third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone. Tell me, folks, what other weapon does man have to fight against himself that will kill a third part of men in 1 hour and a day, a month, and a year? There is no other weapon in existence that can do that. None. Now, he goes on to describe very carefully, for the powers in their mouth and in their tail. When it's set up, it looks like a tail. And their tails look like serpents' tails. And it does. I showed it to you many times. And appears to say that the tails have heads, and with them they do the harm. Yes, each one of the tails each have warheads. Look, this is not, for lack of a better term, rocket science here, folks, to figure this out. And the rest of the men which were not killed by this stroke, this blow, repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils. So, Christmas Day is going to bring a nuclear war upon the whole earth. This is my warning to each and every one of you, why you must not worship idols. I think I'm finished with this video.